Hey everybody, do you know what CPC stands for? I didn't say CCP, it's not China Communist Party. CPC, Constant Personal Communication. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader of an organization, you have kids, it's your responsibility to constantly personally communicate with people. Now, why is CPC so powerful in the business world? We're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to give you the how in order of what's the most effective to what's the least effective. And then I'm going to give you 5 different categories that people fall into to help you improve your communication with people. So hopefully you'll stay tuned through the end. So number 1, it helps you drive or change behavior. If there's something that you want to accomplish, something you want to promote, something you want to improve, you're going to need to talk about it all the time. People are constantly distracted by social media, personal life, challenges, entertainment, health, fitness, family, all these things. And so their brain, their mind, their obsession, there's not that many things that they're focused on. It's our job as leaders to constantly bring what's a priority back to the front of mind, back to the surface, so that that's the first thing that they're thinking about or towards their top of their list. So number 1, it helps you drive whatever initiative or improve anything that you have as a goal. You will need to constantly remind people of it. Number 2, it realigns priorities. It realigns priorities. There's a lot of different focuses. There's different seasons. There's things that you need to get done based on it's the end of the month. So maybe that priority is let's close out the month. But the reality is, man, this is how we have to start the month. So you gotta kind of realign that priority. People could start chasing an area like in our business. It's, man, sales, right? Because that makes some money. But they forget what brings in the sales is new inventory. So keeping new inventory the focus, not obsessing on the result of what was already produced. We have a saying that income is past success. Inventory is future success. So it helps you realign the priority. Number 3, you have to repeat something that you expect. If it's a true expectation, if it's a true standard, if it's a true measurement that's important to you, you're going to repeat it nonstop. And people are going to say, man, that's all she talks about. That's all he talks about. Every single time he trains, he brings up that point. It lets people know what you value the most. It lets people know what you expect from them. So you have to stop changing the message. Years ago, I would say, okay, there's 20 areas. And I would say, let's focus on number 1. And then it would 2, and then 4, and then 8, and then 12. And then I forgot number 1. And I realized that people cannot have that many obsessions. So I said, okay, if there's 5 fingers, that means that the max that somebody's going to be able to focus on really dominant is 5. And if you look at somebody's life, you'll see that they don't have 10 obsessions or 20 obsessions. They typically have 1, 2, 3 different obsessions, and then there's a couple very important points, but it's typically 3, 4, 5, 6 areas that they're really focusing on at a time, with 1 to 2 being an obsession. So I had to stop changing my message and communicate the same message 100 times instead of 100 different messages one time. There's this great quote by Bruce Lee that says, I'm more afraid of a man that can do 1 kick 400 times than a man that can do 400 kicks 1 time. And so people need to hear something over and over and over. Just think about when you're listening to a song, how many times do you need to hear it before you get the words? And then even then you forget some of the words, and then you're singing it in the car and you're like, what? And it's like a whole different word, man. And you're like, yeah, and you bring it back, right? So remind people. Number 4, okay? When you stay on the same message, constant personal communication, what that does is it simplifies the process. Now, you may have to look at everything that you have going on and find out, hey, what is my number 1 domino? And this I learned from my mentor, that there's 1 domino that moves all the other dominoes, right? When you see that example where somebody draws, like, create this whole domino tunnel, and there's a ball that rolls down, and then it hits the thing, and then the other domino, and then the bird sings, all this crazy stuff, okay? There's 1 domino that's number 1. What is that 1 domino? You may end up saying, okay, well, I used to talk about 10 things, and I would give each one of them 10%. But number 10 really only improved my bottom line 2-3%. But number 1 improved my bottom line 30%. So you shouldn't give even distribution to the main points that you need to focus on. Pick the most important area and go 80% on that area, and that's your number one domino. So it helps simplify people's focuses when you could stay on the same message and you constantly communicate what those goals are. We do this in the beginning of the year, and we'll say, here's our goals for the year. And then sometimes we don't bring it up enough, and people forget what the company goals are until the end of the year comes. Then you're going back to look at your goals to see which one you accomplished. So it's so important, again, to constantly, personally communicate these things to people as to what's important to you. Number 5, it shows you're paying attention. When you are having a conversation with somebody and you're asking them questions, you're taking an inventory of where they are, you're addressing issues that they're having, you're highlighting areas that they're doing good, it shows that you're paying attention. And when you pay attention, when you're detail oriented, when the results matter, when you're not winging it, when you really do, they know like, man, he really expects that from me. She really expects that from me. People will rise up to your expectation when they know what really matters to you. And so you got to be clear on what that is, and then you have to communicate that effectively. Point number 6, it also shows that they matter. When you're having a conversation with people and you're giving them feedback, what that lets that person know is that, man, he's seeing me, she's seeing me, they're seeing what I'm doing, and they care enough about me to have these conversations. I don't think most people have somebody in their life that's really analyzing their day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month life and then giving them feedback and holding them accountable, who they know what their goals and dreams are. They care about that person. They are an example of success, and then they're turning back saying, let me help you get to where I'm at. I don't think most people have somebody like that in their life. And so if you become that person and you genuinely believe that this person can do something great, and you see who they can become, and you constantly communicate to that person, it lets them know that you care about them, that this is not just a transaction, this isn't just a business. You know, there's a lot of things that we have to get done while we're on this earth and that we want to achieve, and there's a lot of, things, tasks, numbers we got to hit, sales we got to make, whatever that may be. But people want to know at the end of the day, do I come before that? Do they care about me as a person? Do they want to see me win? So it lets them know that you matter, that they matter when you constantly communicate. Next one, it uplifts or challenges them. So that communication could be a positive or negative. Either way, they know that they matter, right? But you want to use that, and I would say, I don't have like a ratio that I do. If I unconsciously had to give you that answer, it'd probably be like a 2 to 3, positive to 1. There are times where maybe that's 2, 3 challenges to 1 positive. I've been both leaders. I will tell you, being more of a positive leader with instruction and accountability gets more from people than being a negative leader or challenging leader where you're constantly just challenging, but there's not enough praise or enough recognition. So maybe like a 3 to 1 ratio, minimum 2 to 1, 3 to 1's better. I'm sure that there's some people that have studied that scientifically and give you the accurate number there, but it helps you uplift them or it helps you challenge them. People need encouragement, praise, and recognition. People need feedback, constructive criticism, and feedback as well. Next one, number 8. It gives immediate action or direction and can produce an immediate change. So if you're constantly communicating, let's use two leaders. One, you're communicating 1 time a month, you're doing a meeting, and the other leader, every 2-3 days, they're texting, driving, checking in. Hey, what's the update? Great job there. Hey, I saw that number go up yesterday. Phenomenal job. I'm watching what you're doing. Keep it up, man. Hey, your number dropped. What's going on there? The frequency of communication is going to help accomplish that goal. So more frequent, constant personal communication over extended communication is going to drive performance and produce immediate change. If it's the beginning of the day and I challenge somebody to have a productive morning, right, to kick off the day, to win the day, and then I hold them accountable at the end of the night, hey, how'd you do? That's going to create a system of accountability where they know that, hey, George probably expects this for me tomorrow. Let me make sure that I do it. And if you can create that system of accountability consistently, eventually that person will become an independent leader and they'll need less feedback, more direction. Number 9, last one, it's an investment into who they can become. It's an investment into who they can become. In this world, guys, you're going to have to build leaders if you want to build something big in life. And there's not a better investment, the one that you make into yourself. Anything that fires you up, that keeps you going, that helps you get better, that encourages you, that keeps you fresh, that realigns you, that stretches you, anything that feeds you, where you get fed from that, that's number one. But number two is the investment you make into people. And it's frustrating at times because people will let you down, but never stop believing that a person can change. So now let's transition, okay? Those are the 9 points and benefits of why constant personal communication is important. Now let's talk about the how, right? What's the best? I'm gonna give you 8 different categories from best to lowest on what's most effective. Number one is one-on-one in person. Nothing will ever beat one-on-one in person. That's number one. Number two, in person in a group setting, okay? In person in a group setting. Number three, one-on-one call, right? Phone call, one-on-one, just you and them. Number four, personal letter that you write to them, okay? Where you take the time to invest into writing that person a personal letter. We don't do that anymore. It's always nice when I get a personal letter. I've saved every personal letter that somebody's ever written me, and I think most people value that incredibly. So that's number four. Number five, a group call, okay? So it's a phone call, it's a group call, or maybe a group Zoom, okay? Number six, an individual text. Number seven, a group text. And lastly, number eight, nothing, okay? So anything is better than number eight. Most of the time when I'm busy, sometimes I'm tempted to do a group text versus an individual phone call versus even more so an individual 60-second, 2-minute interaction in the office, one-on-one, eye to eyeball, right? And they can see that you're paying attention. They can see that you care. They can see, it's just that 2-minute conversation could be more effective than a 20-minute phone call. That constant 2-minute conversation versus, hey, I haven't talked to you all month. Now I'm going to give you 20 minutes instead of 10 2-minute conversations. That's something that I learned from my mentor in the industry. So lastly, guys, I want to give you 5 different categories where people fall into and how you should use constant personal communication with these individuals. Number one, these are your A players, okay? The priority, people in your life, they're the A group. Make a list and ask yourself, who falls on my A, okay? That's every day, daily, texting, phone call, boom, it's daily, okay? Daily, every other day, daily ideal. Number two, B group. These are people you communicate with maybe every 3-4 days, every 2-3 days. So it's 2-3 times a week. C, this is the third group, okay? C, once a week I communicate with these people. I got to check in once a week. 4, your D group, once every 2 weeks to once a month. And lastly, E, these are the people you stop communicating with until they change, and then you bring them back and you say, okay, let's get you to D, C, B, A, but you got to prioritize that. You cannot spend the same amount of time with a non-performer that you do with a performer. You wouldn't put $100,000 into a low-paying investment versus a high-paying investment. Don't treat everybody the same. Treat everybody fairly, but don't treat everybody the same. I hope this video helped you in constant personal communication. As a new entrepreneur, when I was 19 years old, I had to learn how to do this and how to be an effective leader and how to over-communicate. And I love the quote by John Gordon that says, in an absence of communication, negativity exists. Sometimes we're just holding off and we're like, man, but I got to get everything right and it's got to be perfect. Just have a conversation. You'll never know where that can go. And you never know that person just said, man, that's all I needed to get through today to make that change. It could be one conversation that changes a person's life. If you found value in this, share your comments below. Please share this with your team or your organization and subscribe. We look forward to seeing you on the next video, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.